Welcome to Two Dads One Car, where we talk about modern fatherhood. My friends, I am currently at the Vancouver Maritime Museum. And the reason why is I'm actually going to bring in the show the executive director of the museum itself. He is a father of 3 kids. I think they are more in the high school age, actually maybe beyond. I actually met him recently at an event, and I was like, hey, David, I gotta get you on the show. And so I'm excited to be here. We're currently on site. For those watching on the YouTube video, you can see the beautiful setting. We're at the edge of the beach here in Kitsilano, and I can't wait to bring David onto the show. All right, we'll chat soon. David, so great to have you on the Two Dads One Car podcast. I can't even say my own podcast name, but so great to have you here today. Thanks for being in.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Yeah.
Why don't we start off with a snapshot of your family, like number of kids, rough ages, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. Yeah. So we have 3 children. Our eldest is 21, and Owen, and our middle Emily is 19 as of yesterday.
Wow.
Or maybe the day before. And our youngest Jasper is 13.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You are a veteran. You're well along the journey here.
Yeah. I feel sometimes like my veteran status more and more.
I mean, it's great for me because I have 2 little ones, and so I just love to be able to learn from those who walk that journey. Yeah. What would you say is an unspoken truth about fatherhood?
Oh, yeah, unspoken truth. I think forgiveness, probably. You know, like the value of forgiveness. You know, especially now. You know, as I'm. You know, I have my kids are teenagers and adult, and over the years, you make mistakes, right? Like everyone wants to be an awesome parent, but the truth is everyone makes mistakes. Mm-hmm. So you have to, and the kids make mistakes, right? So I think you have to forgive yourself when you make a mistake. You know, like I think we've all been there, right? Where you're like, you know, you yell at the kids or whatever, you do whatever, but you have to, I think, forgive yourself, and also forgive the kids too, like, because they do stuff that, you know, we've all been there, right? On the receiving end of you know, some pretty heinous behavior at times, and you have to, you know, you have to always find it in your heart to, you know, that's unconditional love, right? Right. We all know like that unconditional love is important, but I think part of what unconditional love is just that the open heart, and you know, always finding that forgiveness for your kids and for yourself when things go wrong.
Oh, that's hard. That's hard, David. That's great.
Well, you know,
that is, yeah.
Well, because, you know, like, you end up having a relationship with them, right?
Yes.
Like I have now.
Yes.
I have a relationship with my son, who's now an adult, right? So you are going to have these relationships with your kids, these adult relationships, and you know, these relationships are like, they're some of the most deep and intense relationships known to humankind. But and you know, people end up with, you know, a lot of baggage over the years. But I think that if you're able to forgive each other, then you're able to have an adult to adult relationship, right? But if you're carrying stuff around, going, I don't, you know, like, I'm still mad at you. Then that's hard, right? So,
how do you teach that? Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
yeah, please.
I would also then take that back to my dad too, right?
Yes. Okay.
So I saw this most powerfully with my dad. I remember, and he's passed away now, 10 years, and he died of ALS, and so, which is a very difficult disease. It's very cruel. But we had you know, that I knew that he was going to die 2 or 3 years before he died. So we had some time to you know, have some conversations that maybe we wouldn't have had otherwise. And we had a great relationship, especially at the end. And I remember there was a time where my eldest was maybe like a year and a half or something, and he was like pulling books off the shelf, and my dad was yelling at him, and I just said, no, Dad, I don't want you to have that kind of relationship with my kids. Like, and I just kind of, I drew the line, and he got so mad. He just felt really disrespected when I did that, and he took his teeth out. He had dentures. And he took his teeth out and he shook them at me.
Oh my gosh!
And he said, "You don't know what it's like." And what he meant was, "You don't know what kind of hard life I've had." And he was, he was angry. I do know, what kind of hard life he had. And but the amazing thing about that interaction was he turned it around. He took that to heart. He found it in his heart to forgive me in that moment, right? And then I forgave him for that. And I kid you not, from that day on, he changed that behavior. Like, he never once, got mad at the kids again, and we weren't living together or anything, so there was probably less opportunity, but, I could see that he changed it in his heart, that he heard me, right? And he had a very angry and violent dad, right? So, and I think his great gift to us was he broke that cycle, right? But it kind of had a little flare up there, right? And and it was nothing like I'm sure he experienced, but he just raised his voice to this little tiny kid, right? And I just went, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So, forgiveness. How do you teach it, though? I don't. Well, I think you just model it, right? You just have to. And this is, I think. With my wife, Bethan, this is how we live, right? Like, we always forgive each other, right? Like, as you know, when you're married, sometimes you need to forgive each other, and we don't go to bed angry. So I think the kids see us forgiving each other, and also we model it. So you have to be the first.
Yes.
Right? As you know, with a sincere apology, you want to lead, right? So if I do things that I regret with the kids, I say so, right?
Yes.
I say I shouldn't have done that.
Yes.
I shouldn't have said that.
Oh, wow.
That was wrong. So I think and you just have to be humble. I guess that's part of the other unspoken, truth, is that parenting is humbling.
Oh yeah,
right. So like it is, and if you're not humbled by parenting, you're not doing it right. Like it's, so I guess that's it.
I love that so much. I really, because I just started sparking all these conversations I've had, whether with my dad or like with friends. I was just chatting with my friend Bruce, who is one of my past podcast guests, and he was talking about the relationship with his father and him was very tense, right? And it's still carried over, and now they're trying to make amends, right? But there's that sense of forgiveness to your own dad, but also like that impression, right? Because like if that's the last impression that your kids had with your dad, right? Like, wait a second, like when they pass, like, whoa, like this is their last fleeting memory, and the fact that you're like, hey, let's stop that now. It's a big one. It's to stop that cycle. And also think back on like, my dad had a big anger, temper problem. He very much chilled out towards the later years, and we were able to forgive each other. And I think I saw what my grandfather did with him. Like, my grandfather was so strict, and I said, I see it, right? And you could see like, how do you stop that chain, right? How do you stop that pattern? Because we could easily carry through.
Physical affection, hugging,
yeah.
That's some of it starts there, right? Just give him a big hug.
My gosh, I mean the hugging is incredible. I mean, you've had to go through the teenage years You've come out alive,
Yeah.
and you're one who's about to start in.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, advice? Like, is it as wild as it sounds? I know it's still many years for me, but I'm sure there's other guests who are navigating that.
Well, I think they're all different. So they all experience life differently. So I think that's the other important thing to keep in mind is that when you have multiple children, it becomes obvious, but they're just people.
Yeah.
So they're gonna go through life differently, and our kids are so different one from the other. So their teenage years don't look the same either. And like we did all sorts of different things in terms of education. Like our eldest went to the Waldorf school, which is quite different in terms of philosophy. I don't know if you know anything about that, but it's quite a different philosophy. And then our middle child is disabled, and so we've had very different educational journey there. And then our youngest kid he's going to the local school. It's just a block away. But there's never one size fits all, and they're all just you just have to meet them where they're at.
I think there's so much truth to that, right? Because it's easy to paint broad brushes about what teenage years could look like, but you mentioned everybody has a different imprint, right? They're different, and what that looks like completely varied. Right.
But there's definitely an emotionality that comes with those years, and even starting at age 11, right? They can run hot, right? And be really fierce about things, and so to not, I think, my best moments would be when I didn't get hot. It's hard not to though, right? Sometimes when they're really, they've just got a lot of emotions, right, in those years. So I think that's the challenge of those teenage years, is to navigate those emotions, try and find ways to interact, and allow the emotions to happen, but not allow them to, for them to negatively impact your relationship.
It kind of ties back to what you said earlier about forgiveness, right? Being able to take that step back.
Yeah. Well, we actually did this, I've been at it so long with the parenting that I forget.
Yeah.
We actually did a workshop on parenting teens.
Oh, really?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm just remembering it now.
At the museum, or
No, just my wife and I.
Okay.
And there was a wonderful takeaway from that.
Please.
Which was that in conflict, the repair, the reparations of the conflict are so much more important than the conflict itself.
Oh, okay.
So how we repair after conflict is, and that's ties in with the forgiveness, right? Because we get so worried about the conflict. We're like, we were fighting, or whatever. But which is, you want to avoid that. But at the same time, how do you? It's part of life, conflict, right? So how do you get beyond it, and how do you learn from that conflict is really key.
Because it's basically the end. What happens at the end of conflict that will stick or not.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it's whether that you create that attachment or you kind of disassociate, right?
Yeah, that's right. It allows you to let go. Right?
That's like a whole spiritual journey here. This is great. If I could pivot gears here, you and I met earlier this week actually at an event, and I learned that you are a museum director, or the executive director of one of my favorite museums here in Vancouver, the Vancouver Maritime Museum.
Indeed, I am.
You must see kids and families come through a lot, probably on a daily basis, if not more.
Oh yeah.
What would you say is, as a parent, what is the importance of museums, especially in a world now where everything's all digital, right? Why do I need to go see a museum? I could see a boat on my phone. There's a TikTok video of a submarine in the ocean.
Yeah. Well, I was walking around the museum a month ago with a friend of mine who's an architect, and our museum is a humble museum, and he's traveled the world, and he said, "Oh, I love this place."
Yeah.
He said, so many museums now, they really kind of push you through, right?
Yes.
There's sort of like one path through. And what I was able to see through his eyes was that, our museum, we have some work to do in terms of, bringing things up to date, which we're working on right now. But it allows people's curiosity to wander, because there's a density of artifacts, and I think that's really important for children to have their curiosity be sparked, and for it to lead to imagination, which is not what happens in a digital realm, right? In a digital realm, you can have this curiosity sparked, but it doesn't lead to imagination. It leads to another video, right? Or whatever. It leads to the outcome that is determined by the internet, by the web programmer, and now by AI, which is, so there, what you want is that those leaping off points go, I wonder.
Oh.
And I think that's, and as with the St. Rock, there's a kind of, for your listeners, the St. Rock is the boat that's on display. It's famous for voyages through the Northwest Passage, and when you're physically, it allows people to climb around, and when you're physically engaged, that is a whole different type of engagement with your imagination, right? When your body is like taking you somewhere, and that's what I've heard from many visitors is like that physical immersion. And right these days we think about like, immersive exhibits. We think lasers and all that kind of stuff. But this is old school immersive, where it's like, you can sit there and you can smell the boat, and you can sit down and you can allow your imagination to wander to back when the boat was in service, right? And that you're at sea, or you're in the Arctic, or you can think, wow, they were in the dark.
Yeah.
Like for so many months, what were they doing? And that type of thing just, I think, allows you to consider not just the facts, that you might find on a YouTube channel, but just like the humanity. And we always get that through empathy, right? And so when we can think of ourselves in that situation, that's when we have the empathetic reaction.
There's so much power to that, and I remember my first time at and I shared this story with you earlier this week, when my first time at the Maritime Museum as a child, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then going back again 2 years ago with my daughter, just seeing with fresh eyes, I'm like, wow, this is super cool. And you talked about like curiosity, right? And she just imagined being on a pirate ship, right? Like as a little one, you're like, this is the actual, that open-ended curiosity, right? As opposed to the algorithm feeding you the next video.
Yeah, that's right.
That's fascinating.
And I go, I walk through the museum, sometimes with guests, sometimes because I got to go look at something, that needs maintenance or whatever. Every time I walk through the museum, I see something different. It's like, because I'm not skimming, right? Like, and when we're on the internet, often we get into like scan mode. We're just sort of like, we're kind of like scanning the horizon, right? We're skimming because there's so much content. And so when I walk through the museum, I just go, oh, there's something I've never seen before, because I'm there present with a guest, right? So I'll just see something that I haven't seen, or I'm going to look at something that needs maintenance. I'm actually really present, because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna look really, I'm gonna focus on this particular area. And so I think that's the kind of neat thing about museums. They give us time, right?
I guess for you, David, your kids grew up in the digital era. Like, how did you instill or try to instill the sense of museum in the analog world, right? Because there supposed to be pressures left and right. Because I think something that parents are struggling with. Like, even though my daughter's young, we're struggling with it too, right?
Oh, everyone is, right? Nobody's got this style, because it's evolving, right? So I think for it's been different. For our eldest, the Waldorf school was the answer, because that is a really analog education experience. So they're very keen on really powerful old-fashioned kinds of learning, like learning with our bodies, learning through sensory experiences. They don't even teach them to read till they're 9.
Interesting.
It's very different. And definitely no screens or anything like that in the classroom. And our eldest, like, we didn't even have TV then. I don't want to make myself sound old.
I love it.
We were counted. We were like, what?
Of course.
We're cutting it out. Like, he was afraid of television when we first showed it to him.
He's like,
He was like, what is, he'd run out of the room. He still gets a little nervous. He's an adult.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But like, for a while, he would just, like, sometimes if things were really intense on the TV, he would still leave the room even when he was a teenager. Anyway, so that was kind of our first attack at that, and then I think other things that we've done, we've sent our kids to, try and take them into nature as much so that they have those experiences, because that's the
we were talking about camping earlier.
that's the balm, right?
Yeah.
For all of this digital overload, is getting them out somewhere where they're totally unplugged and they have to sort of breathe in the trees. And so my eldest, I took him on his first backcountry trip when he was 11.
Wow. Okay.
And he's got it, he's got it in him. He knows now the value of that. So I wish I could get out with him more often, but they're all attached to their screens like the rest of us. But I know that it's in him, right? But it's difficult, though, for sure. And like our middle child is disabled, and so like screens are part of adoption for her. So like she needs them. So yeah.
And what's been, I mean, if I could just like catch on to that, like, what's been that journey like being a father to someone who is disabled? Actually, you may be the first guest I've had on the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, back to our theme of humility,
yes,
right? And
please.
just being humble about parenting. It's it's a journey that you never thought you'd be on. Right? So all of these ideas about like what it means to be a parent and how to shape these kids, and what what happens when when you realize that your child is not only are they not going to sort of be shaped by you, or but they're also not going to be able to participate in life in the same way as their peers. It takes a lot of first of all, it took a long time to sink in, and to accept and to go, oh, this is our life. We won't. I don't know if she'll live independently. I don't know. That's evolving. But she's 19 and she can't read, and her life is hard. Like the government disability definition of disability is related to how long it takes for people to do everyday things. So she can do many things, independently, like getting herself dressed and taking care of herself, bathing herself, and all that kind of stuff. But everything takes longer.
Of course.
Right? And then that's frustrating. Even speaking takes longer, right? So it's like everyone's going fast and she's going slow, right? So we have, as a family, the whole family has to adapt, right? And that's hard too, because we don't want for our youngest, we don't want his life to be entirely dominated by the experience of disability, but yet at the same time, it's our life. It's part, so our life has slowed down, right? So in all ways, right? So we're not able to do certain things that other families are able to do because they're overwhelming, or we just can't do them. Or even financially. yeah, so it definitely shaped our lives. So, but it keep going back to the humility, right? Just to be humble about it, and to just take the time to adapt, and be present for your child.
I love the theme that we're revolving around here, because there is so much when it comes to humility, and thanks for sharing your story as well too, right? Because we could have these certain expectations, right? And then it's like, oh, we're being humbled, right? Whether it's like, okay, I thought it's going to turn out this way, and next thing you know, no, it's not, right? And these are all these experiences that we all walk through our lives, and I guess we could either just like give up, or it's like, how do we adapt? But it's so interesting how these different journeys come up in our own beings and more. I feel you, and I thank you for sharing your story so vividly too, because I can only imagine, right? How do you explain that to your youngest?
You
right?
know what? It's really hard. It's actually really hard to explain.
Yes.
It's really hard to explain to people who don't live with disability what the impact of disability is, because I think one of the tricky things is it's like we're used to hardship, or we're used to adapting, but I think one of the things that makes it different is it just doesn't go away, right? It's never it's not going to change, right? So when you're one of those parenting bits of wisdom is like, this too shall pass, right? We're growing and changing, and things are going to be different. Like what's difficult now will be different later, and I think that's a really hard thing for people to wrap their heads around. It's like, oh, okay, that's yeah.
Do you have any advice for those who are navigating this? For others to like understand even more?
Yeah. Well, I think the building of community is really important, and all sorts of community. So for us, we have a close circle of friends who understand, right? So we can still do things because they understand, right? So we don't have to feel like awkward about some of the things that we have to do to adapt. So that's really important community, and then a community in terms of like support, like more government services, and finding out how to navigate education and all that kind of stuff. You just need to know other people that are going through that stuff, and that's my wife's been just like she is such a pro at that work, right? Which allows everything else to happen a little bit more. Allows us to still thrive in some ways, right? Is that she has done the work to be able to navigate all those services, and how can we get support in different ways. Like right now we're planning a camping trip, and camping is very difficult for Emily. Like it's just but we're seeing but we go to Tofino every year, and so right now we're trying to figure out, can we go with a support worker who could help, and or we were like thinking like, maybe we could rent a trailer, because so that Emily wouldn't have to be in a tent, which is very tricky. And anyway, so Bethan's work like on that type of stuff is just incredible, right? And so she knows so many, she has developed such a network, right? She knows so many so many people in various organizations, or other people, that other parents that are dealing with similar stuff. So that's made all the difference in the world.
There's so much power in what you said earlier about community, right? Especially when we're navigating such hardships, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's with our children, with fatherhood, whether it's like navigating these, trying to figure out the government supports, like it sounds like there's been a lot of work, a lot of things happening behind the scenes that one may not see from the surface, right?
Yeah.
It's and thank you for sharing, because I'm sure if someone who's listening to this would be like, oh yes, right, I feel the same way as well too.
Yeah.
Right, and so I mean, thank you, David, for being on the show and just expressing this.
Actually, we had a conversation this morning.
Please.
She and I.
Yeah.
I told her I was coming on this podcast. I was like, what do you think? What do you think I should say? I don't know. Anyway, so she was pretty cool. She was coming up with ideas. And
love it.
She's actually she wanted me to tell you. Actually, she's like, tell them I'm a trans person.
Oh yeah,
she is, which has not been another part of our journey, right?
Yes,
like she came out as a transgender when she was a teenager.
Interesting.
Teenager, and that's also just been an incredible, journey as well. Again, humbling. Nobody. We don't know our children, right? Like we do know them, and then we're always in this journey of getting to know them as they grow, right? And so that's also been a big part of our family too.
Wow, I mean, it just shows, like, there's so many facets to our lives and parenting and our own journeys, and whether it's like sexual orientation, whether it's like disability, physical, beyond. It's humbling in many ways, and kind of just reinforces there's no cookie cutter, and if there is a cookie cutter, it's a myth.
yeah, totally. No, it's just a wild ride. You just go, what? All of these things they're just none of them are really expected.
Yeah. I think we'll have to have a follow-up conversation here and kind of dive even deeper into this some more. If I could call back to earlier, we talked about being a place of analog and being a place of phone-free, and being a place of community. One of the things that we were a part of is just this discussion about. I think there's some exciting plans, hopefully, with the Maritime Museum and having a new experience, like a bit of a sauna experience on the barge. Walk us through that a little bit and what that looks like. And
we're trying to be creative here. So we manage the harbor in front of the museum. So our plan is to bring in a World War II converted supply barge that's converted into saunas. So they run this wonderful facility in Victoria. The company that we're partnering with is called Haven, and so we're really excited about that as a way of generating revenue. It's a good business model, and then also just drawing people to the neighborhood and giving people new reasons to come to the neighborhood and explore this most beautiful little piece of Vancouver.
And I think we were just earlier before the recording, you're just showing me where it could be potentially positioned, and it just looks absolutely beautiful, right?
Yeah.
It's it's another way to kind of build community, right? Because it's not like isolated places.
Connect to place. When we did a study years ago, and demand and needs analysis, and one of the recommendations or observations of the study was that, and they surveyed, was that one of the top barriers for people visiting the museum was they didn't know where it was.
Oh, interesting.
Right, because it's a little bit tucked away, right? And so, and it's not like they didn't know how to find it with Google Maps. It's that if we don't visit those places, they don't feel like familiar to us, then we're less likely to go. So I think one of the things this is going to do is it's going to bring a whole bunch of people down to the area that might not have visited ordinarily, and they go, oh, what's in there? Oh, that's the Maritime Museum. So I think there's going to be a really nice synergy between the two.
And it's all very exciting. I mean, the Maritime Museum is such a beautiful place for families, right? And I think it's a way to kind of get back into analog. There's this new popular meme now is called touch grass, right?
Yeah.
We want to get back to, I mean, in this case, touching boats. But I want to get back to touching grass, getting back to nature, reconnecting with the past and not being fed an algorithm about what to see next. And that sense of curiosity that we want to bring to our children. Right?
Well, and the Haven, the spa, it's a phone-free. Phone-free experience. So, I think that's exciting.
All right,
I think that's one of the reasons why people really like it.
Yes, phone-free experience. We'll have to get Haven to sponsor this episode. Get them to sponsor just. But I think that's exciting, and I think there's really interesting opportunities to bring families here and beyond, and beyond. So I think there's so much power in community, and just seeing the diversity of voices, of experiences. I mean, wouldn't it be fun to do some event where like at Haven is like just all dads and they could just all share their shit? I think it'd be okay.
Dad night.
A dad night, right? We'll have to do a dad night, right?
Dad night with our dad bods.
I love it. Dad night with dad bods.
Dad bod night,
All right. All right, we're gonna make this work. All right, Nick, we're gonna make this work. Nick and Jamie, dad night with dad bods. But I think just having those opportunities to share your stories,
again,
spoken truths, right?
But back to being humble.
Absolutely. As we round the corner here, literally as we round the corner here, what are you excited about for this next chapter of fatherhood for you?
Well, I think, we're into this phase where we're really getting to know our kids as adults, as they become adults, right? And to see who they're becoming and interacting with them in different ways, right? So, it's started already, and it's super exciting.
I can't wait for that period as well too.
It's totally different, that's for sure.
Well, David, such a joy to have you on the show. So thankful and grateful you agreed and was like, all right, let's do it. And so glad to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I was a little bit worried. I was like, I don't know what I have to say about it. And no, it's really fun.
No, I think this is going to change lives, and I learned a lot in our conversation. I can't wait to connect more offline.
Awesome.
All right, let's take a photo.
Steven.
All right, see ya. That's a wrap. Thank you so much, David, for being on the podcast. I learned so much in this episode, especially around the theme of forgiveness and humbleness. I think being a parent humbles us in so many ways. And even this theme of forgiveness that was weaved throughout, forgiving ourselves, forgiving our parents, even forgiving our children. Man, David's been on this fatherhood journey for 21 years. We actually only recently met, and I knew there's something about David's personality that I wanted to bring him into the show. But I had no idea what to expect in the conversation. The fact that his middle one is navigating disabilities, his youngest just told David and his wife that she's trans, and there's so many aspects which reinforces that these are a lot of unspoken stories, unshared stories, because there's no typical family. There's a typical model family. That's really a myth. And so this whole journey of parenting, of fatherhood, it really forces us in a way to grow, and also humbles us in so many different ways. And David, thank you so much for sharing your stories. Thank you for reinforcing this theme, and thank you for being on the show. It's so nice to have you here. And I'm here currently recording at the museum itself. Behind me is the St. Rock, which is the one of those beautiful RCMP ships. I remember coming here as a kid, and I loved it so much, and bringing my daughter here 2 years ago. She thought she was a pirate, and so I highly recommend going to the museum for anybody else who's interested. It is such a cool little part of Vancouver and beyond. And so with that, thank you for listening in. Check us out on 2dads1car.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, please share with others. That's the best way that we've been growing. All right, with that, we'll chat soon. Cheers, bye.